Hey there, Simone here with Bulletproof Leadership, as always, with some ideas and insights what to pay attention to when you're growing and scaling your business. And today I want to talk about something that I've been seeing over and over for the last 20 years, why saying yes oftentimes turns into weak leadership and why the nice CEOs actually stay stuck. So let me ask you something real. It's like, when's the last time you said yes to something in your business and you immediately regretted it? Like me, maybe it was a team member dropping a quick question on you when you were walking out the door. Maybe it was a client asking for something outside the scope of work and you didn't want to, cause friction. And, you said yes because you wanted to be a good leader, you wanted to placate people, you wanted to be nice, and you said yes because you wanted to keep things moving. But here's the truth. Saying yes on a constant basis, if that's your MO, it really is a trap. And it's one of the biggest reasons why so many business owners get really stuck and overwhelmed. So today we're going to unpack why saying yes too much is actually a sign of weak leadership, and how learning how to say no like a pro is really what unlocks real growth, freedom, and profitability, which of course, that's what we're all going for. So look, being a too nice leader is definitely a trap. And most business owners they don't start out trying to be weak leaders. They start out trying to survive. In the early days in your business, you had to say yes to everything. Yes, we can do that job. Yes, I'll work that late shift. Yes, let's take that late client request. It's a hustle mode. It's what gets the business off the ground. And here's what I see time and time again later. That becomes a habit and it doesn't go away as the business grows. So of course, now what happens is your team gets better, gets bigger, your revenue grows, but you're still in the middle of everything, still answering all the questions, still saying yes to every fire drill. And that's kind of the thing that keeps you busy all the time. So I'll tell you a story. One of our clients, call him Greg, came to us completely burned out. And, his business was growing. He had a team of 25 people at that point. Revenue was healthy, but he couldn't even leave for a weekend without his phone constantly blowing up. Why? Because every decision still ran through him, came down to him. He saw himself kind of as the guy who would always say yes. He saw himself as kind of the hero who would always solve all the problems. And that's what he thought good leadership was. Showing up early, leaving last, always being in the mix. But instead of looking like a strong leader, he looked like a leader who didn't trust his team, right? So let that sink in a second. When you take everything over to your team, it feels like you're not trusting them. You look at like a leader who can't let it go. And that's a big trap of being that nice leader. So here's when things get real. Saying yes all the time doesn't just hurt you, it hurts your entire organization. Because what you're really doing here is when you say yes too much, is you're breaking the very system that you're supposed to put in to run your business. Think about it. If every decision, approval, and question comes to you, what does that mean? It means your team doesn't have clear guidelines. It means your operational structure is either missing or ignored, or it's just not working right. It means there's no real chain of command, which, your chain of command is the thing that sets you free. If you don't have that, you're always going to be the hub for everything. You become the system. So that's, a lot of times I look at that. When you have a small team, you can still be the one who can keep their sticky little fingers on everything and control everything because there are not that many moving pieces. So you become the system. So you're the one who's really running everything instead of the system doing that. And of course, as you add more people and more complexity and a bigger business, the wheels come off the bus, right? And it's really dangerous, because a real business should run on structure and not on personality, and not on your personality. It should be able to function whether you are there or not. So let me try to make this more concrete. Imagine you run a 15-person construction company. You have account managers, you have project managers, you have designers. And if your designers have to ask you for approval for every single initiative or project, if the account managers can't send client emails without your review, and if your PMs come to you for every timeline adjustment, you're not running a business, you're running a bottleneck. And here's the hidden cost of that. If every time you say yes steals time from what actually grows the business, what the business actually needs you for. So that's, of course, expanding the vision, expansion planning, right? Hiring and developing leaders, high-level strategy. It's not just exhausting, it's really expensive. And I really want you to all see that perspective of it. So, because that's just the beginning. So let's talk about the ripple effect here, because this doesn't just stay in the office. Because when you're stuck in yes mode, you take the same energy home. You're constantly distracted. Your family just pretty much gets the leftovers of you. You're mentally checked out at dinner, your kid's soccer game, whatever it is. It costs you on every single level. So I'll tell you about another client. Let's call her Sarah. She told me she told me one of the hardest things wasn't the long hours. It was realizing her kids thought this was completely normal. So her never being home, late nights, weekends, vacations missed, they just thought this was normal. They were used to mom always doing late. They were used to dad skipping the family trip because the business needs me, right? And that is honestly the real price of being the nice leader, because you're pleasing everybody at work and you're losing the people that kind of matters the most. And here's what makes it worse. When you're too available for your team, this is actually the part I think I really want you to realize and digest here. When you're too available for your team, you're actually holding them back. I mean, think about this, right? If your team always leans on you, they never develop real ownership. They never really understand what it means to be the owners of an entire project where everything is dependent on them. They never learn to think strategically because they're always looking at you. So they stay really dependent on you. So you're not just burning yourself out, you're also disempowering your team. And of course, that's not leadership. That's codependency in business clothing. So with all that being said, let's flip this around for a second. See, when you think about saying no, how does it make you feel? That's a really important place to start. Because if you notice that, it makes you feel like they won't like this, or then I won't get what I need. Like, what is it really that keeps you from saying no? Because it's not that it's makes you cold or unapproachable. It's about building a team that doesn't need you in every little detail, in every little thing. The best leaders I know do this intentionally. This is something that they're very aware of. So here's how we do this. It's like, first of all, of course, it's installing chain of command systems, right? So that means being clear about what the leadership structure is between you and the rest of the team, because that means not every question comes to you. It comes to your buffer person, right? Your mid-level management. They run effective teams that have really good team meetings and one-on-ones, which is where everybody should bring their questions to, right? Unless something is a true emergency. And that also means your team has to understand what a true emergency means. They actually have a platform now to bring their questions, concerns, and insecurities too. So this is like your team meetings and your one-on-ones are not random check-ins. They are not to kind of rehash the status quo. They're structured, consistent sessions where goals and deliverables and challenges are addressed as a team, where it's not you running a dog and pony show and giving all the answers, but this is where you address this strategically as a team. And this is where we teach the 5 C's and why that really matters. I'll repeat it. Clarity, C, right? It's the first one. That means everybody knows what the vision and mission is. The context is the second C. It's everyone knows what things are prioritized and why they are the way they are and why we're using it. Communication is the third. And look, it can't be all in your head. If it's all in your head, that means it's all dependent on you. So it needs to be documented. And then of course that needs to be shared. The certainty, which is the fourth C, it means your team knows exactly what they're responsible for. And they also feel like there's good leadership. They can trust you. They can trust the company. They're in a good place. They can make mistakes. There's so many things in that certainty aspect. And then consistency, of course, you don't change things every week. There's a rhythm to things. And there's also consistency in how we approach and how we follow through, so that it's not on you to constantly follow up, because everybody understands that they're consistently responsible for the initiatives they're responsible for. So when all of that is in place, saying no becomes easy because your team already knows what they need to do. So when there really is an emergency, it comes through all the proper channels. It's not, a bottom, like a boots on the ground person running up to the CEO to air this problem. So you're not constantly interrupted anymore. Your phone doesn't run 25,000 times a day. You're not constantly firefighting. You are leading, which now means you can actually strategic. You can be strategic. You can look at priorities. You can make sure that you're looking at the stuff that only you can do, which is the only way you can ever really scale your company. So now, if you've been in this yes mode forever, right? This is where the rubber meets the road, because of course now your team is really used to that. They're trained to expect that you will always handle things. And of course, that's not a good scenario for you or for them. So how do you shift this? Well, first of all, you have to set new expectations. You have to call a team meeting and really address this directly, where you say, hey, you know what? Moving forward, I won't be the one-stop shop for every decision. This is how things will work going forward. So you show them that you've recognized that you've been the bottleneck, but you also come to the table with, hey, how this is going to be how it is from here on out. So you back that up with systems. So, and that is like what we teach our clients. You install decision-making frameworks. You create escalation protocols where they understand, in terms of emergencies, like what are level 1 problems? That's what the team handles. What are level 2 problems? That's what management handles. And then what are level 3 problems? And that's where we get the CEO, the business owner, to really show up and give their input. So, that's a really good structure to start. But then, of course, you have to let go of perfectionism, because yes, especially when you install this at first, we go back to human psychology. Of course, that is going to trigger some insecurities in your team, which may express themselves in terms of them not wanting to do this, or them being really insecure about doing this, having resistance to do it. So no matter how you do this, they will make mistakes as they take on more and as they grow into this new level of responsibility. That is part of growth. So your job isn't to prevent every mistake. Your job is to make sure that the mistakes they make don't sink the ship, and to help your team to learn from the mistakes and really understand like how to do it differently going forward. So you're getting out of boss mode where you're telling them what to do, and you're moving into coach and mentorship mode where you're actually helping them to solve their own problems and make the right decisions. And that really means you have to check yourself all the time. Like every time you feel the urge to jump in, you have to ask yourself, is this really my job, or am I just defaulting to yes and jumping in again? So like really that little pattern interrupt where you take that pause, that alone can change everything. Just try that for a week before you jump in, before you say yes, before you're the one who's solving the problem. Just take that beat and see what happens when you're actually referring it back to them and you become the coach instead of the boss maker, right? So, and I mean, I know some of you listening might think, this sounds great, but I'm already at the edge of my bandwidth. I don't have time to take all this stuff up. So that is exactly why we are in such an amazing time right now, because AI can really help you do this stuff. It matters so much, and it makes things so much easier. So with AI powered tools like the ones that we provide in AI Business Scaling Blueprint, you can automate and streamline those systems without starting from scratch. You don't have to reinvent the wheel because we already did it for you. So in that period, right? In that scenario, you can set up SOP documentations automatically. You can manage project workflows. You can monitor accountability dashboards. You can automate team check-ins and status updates. So this is not stuff that you have to constantly do and check up on and like waste your brain space on, right? That's the really important part. So AI really can help you automate and optimize this stuff. And the biggest thing that you get from that is bandwidth, space, so that you can focus on the most important stuff, and that you also have the space, the emptiness that you need to be creative again. Because what used to take months of building systems now happens in days. And so it gives you the bandwidth back to start into real leadership. It clears the clutter. It creates the structure that you need. It protects your time. So saying no doesn't feel like such a battle, because now you're not doing everything. It becomes part of how you run your business. So let me leave you with this today. Being a nice leader isn't about keeping everybody happy. It's about building something bigger than you, a business that thrives without you, and it thrives without you having to say yes to everything. The strongest CEOs that I know aren't the ones who are always in the trenches. They're the ones who are focused on growth and vision and strategy. They know exactly how to get out of the trenches. They say no more than they say yes. I think it was Steve Jobs who said that, your strongest ability as a leader is to start saying no, to learn how to say no. And because of that, your team will be stronger. Your business will be much healthier, and you're going to have actually a life that you can take advantage of. Because think about your life outside of work. It can actually exist in that scenario. So if you want help building those systems fast, using AI tools make it simple and repeatable. So go to aibusinessscalingblueprint.com, aibusinessscalingblueprint.com, and grab that blueprint and of course start implementing it. And reach out to us if you want help putting it all into place faster than you think is possible. So look, saying no is how you get your time, your freedom, and your passion back. So let's make that happen. Go to aibusinessscalingblueprint.com and reach out to us so we can help you make it even better.